back to Call the Damn Leads, the show by sales professionals for sales professionals. I'm your host, Drew B. Wilson. With more than 2 decades in sales, I've seen it, been through it, heard about it. Now I'm bringing it to you, my favorite people in the world, the sales community. Because let's be honest, this is the greatest job on earth. Doesn't matter where you come from, what background, what personality type, you can create an amazing life in sales. Today's guest, definitely not a stranger to that journey. I'd like to welcome Wes Towers. How are you today?
Thanks so much, Drewby. It's a nice early start for me today, 5:30 a.m. So ready to get cracking with this conversation.
A man after my own heart. I love the 5 a.m. club. It has been a big game changer for me, so I always appreciate anyone who's willing to get after it early. And man, I want to jump right in. I want to hear your crazy sales story.
Sure. So, I do websites and SEO. That's our business. Selling SEO has become a little bit challenging just with all the changes with how Google operate and the Google AI overviews and that sort of things. With those challenges, it's become a just to set the expectations really well in the sales journey. So I had a new potential client, met with him, explained the changes and the likely changes and how things are likely to evolve with SEO, and we're calling it search everywhere optimization. So I explained to him there's less traffic coming through Google these days to websites simply because the answer when people are in the early phases, they're finding the answer to their research on Google itself. So they're not visiting websites. So lots of people are getting a whole bunch less traffic. So we can do the optimization. Doesn't necessarily mean your traffic's going to climb because we don't know what Google's going to do precisely. However, you should get more leads and inquiries because people are using other tools like Google, so like ChatGPT and the like, to do research. And if the same principles apply to what we optimize for Google, they now apply for AI. So I explained that whole process because I wanted it to be clear, transparent, and didn't want him to be disappointed after the process. So I did that, and so he understood, okay, there might be a bigger game to show up in ChatGPT. So that was great. He bought into that idea, but it's also new. So I was also concerned. I always want to over deliver on the promises we made. So I didn't promise, but I said there's a chance given your industry to show up. And fortunately enough, just last week he called and said, "Hey, you were right. I got a major contract off the back of ChatGPT. They searched for his particular service offering and who's the best one. I won't say what it was, but who's the best in Australia of this service. So someone miles away called him because ChatGPT said he was the best. So that's, I guess, a two-pronged sales story. So for me to be able to sell the changes because things are changing rapidly. So, and that was, I was thankful that he came on board. But for his small investment, he won $140,000 contract off the back of that. So it was phenomenal success for him. So, great case study. So that's what I'm stoked about. I tell everybody about that. So because it was just a small program he signed up. We just cleaned up a few things and adjusted some things. $3,000 investment with me, $140,000 outcome for him. So, they're the stories you dream of, right? So, yeah.
There's a couple things I want to pull out of there because that's super awesome. I love stories like that. Nothing makes me happier than, when you bring on a client, you do your job, you do it wonderfully, and then they call you back and they're like, "Hey, I got to tell you about this." Because you kind of almost are like, at first a little bit worried. You're like, "Oh God, what's going to happen here?" And then they share a crazy story like that, and you're like whooping and hollering, but also trying to keep it calm and collected, like you knew that was going to happen. Like, well, of course it did. Like, this is how this works, right? But at the same time, there is so much change in the industry right now from a marketing perspective. As you said, right now you go to Google, you type in a question, it's going to just give you the answer right there in the AI. So less and less people are having to visit your website to actually learn this. But what I really appreciate about you and how you approached it is, listen, that's not the only source for traffic. Now that we have these tools, we can expand upon what information we're leveraging to make sure that when they're searching for our product or service, we're the top of mind. We're the one that the AI decides, hey, these are the best of the best. These are the folks that we're going to set you up with. And so how did you end up kind of getting into the SEO space? Like, what made you decide to start building websites and go in that route?
Yeah, so well, I studied graphic design slash multimedia. So I moved into from there. I started working in marketing companies, and I guess that's where I cut my teeth early. I mean, when I started, I got a job in an award-winning marketing company, but they'd never designed a website. That's how old I am. So the yeah, the marketing and this and everything wasn't really around the online. It was the year 2000, so not every business had a website by then. Certainly here in Australia, in Sydney, I was working. So they gave me they won a website job and say, right, you're the young guy. You better figure out how to build this because we've just sold a website to somebody, and they were gracious and gave me plenty of time. So from there, I became their web guy, and they merged with another company, and I was their web guy. And then I not long after I started my own business and started. So I was on websites from a marketing standpoint, design and marketing, but SEO became a thing, and I kind of learned how it worked, and it keeps changing, and it's never before has it changed so dramatically. So, but building the right foundations are still holding true. So, yeah, it's been good.
Yeah, well, and that's, man, I can't tell you how many times I've been in a position where someone I worked with sold something and they're like, okay, cool, we're going to figure this out. And you're going, Lord have mercy on me. Like, all right, yeah, I guess we are going to figure it out. But as a, small business owner, entrepreneur, there are going to be times where you're going to be faced with like, hey man, I need you to do this for me. And, I'm not recommending that anybody sell something they can't actually deliver on, but this is what allows you to grow. This is what allows you to take that next step in your business and in your life is being able to figure things out. And,
Yeah,
with the advent of AI and all the tools and things that exist, like building websites has never been easier, I'll say. And also, it's never been more challenging because you still have to know the framework. You still have to know how to build a proper website. So, like, what are some of the things that you see in new business owners, like maybe the mistakes that they're making or some of the things that they should be doing just to make sure that they have this foundationally built correctly?
yeah. So they need to be really, really clear on their message. So two things: their voice, their unique voice, so how they say things, but then their core offering, what sets them apart truly, because it's so easy to punch out content these days that's generic. Because you see people making the horrendous mistake of just jumping on their preferred AI platform and getting a piece of content written there and just copy pasting it straight into their website. So that can be a real problem because it's just the same. It's just the average of everybody else compiled into one piece of content. So no one wants to be average. You've really got to set yourself apart. That more than ever, you humanize your brand as much as you can. So you're engaging with people buy from people, and that's
Amen.
still going to be the case. So you've got to humanize your brand, clearly communicate that message concisely, compellingly on your website. So by the time they get to the sales call, there's consistency around what you're communicating and selling, just not crunching out a whole bunch of stuff on ChatGPT to try and rank. That's a clear mistake that a lot of people are making right now.
Hey, and I can speak to that personally because I made that mistake early on. I was a believer like, hey, more content, the better. If I have 1,800 blog posts, then they're surely going to come and find me. And turns out that hurt my website more than it helped it because now Google has a hard time like deciding what's actually good content. And it's not to say that you can't use these AI tools to get you started, but I really like what you said about humanizing it, making it in your actual tone.
Yeah.
Yeah, 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 I did mention that. And you're like, wait a second, hold on now. I thought you were the expert. Turns out you're just like everybody else and you're using content that you have no idea what's real about it. So I really love that advice. I think there's a lot of people that are doing what you said. They're just going in, talking to the robot, getting a robotic response. And I'm
Yeah.
a big believer that, copywriting is the number one tool and skill set that you can learn to be a better sales professional. And I know for a fact that having great copywriting skills allows you to leverage AI at a much, much higher level because you know how to explain what you're looking for, what the conversation should actually look like. It's a combination of sales and marketing all in one. And
Mm.
so like how does, maybe a small business owner or entrepreneur, how do they compete with the big guys that are spending, thousands and hundreds of thousands of dollars on marketing to be able to continue to show up in the marketplace right now? Like, what do we got to do?
Yeah, well, it really helps to niche into to something clear and specific. So you can be the leader in your small niche, and so when people end up finding you, however they find you, there's a point of distinction right away. So you're a specialist all of a sudden. So if someone is in that field and they go, right, well, this guy knows precisely what I need because he's done it for a bunch of people just like me. So that makes the whole thing so much easier, niching into to what you do best. So, and it's just oftentimes it's just removing the other stuff. So we're working with a website the other day, a few weeks ago now. So they had so much service offering on their website, but it turned out a lot of it was just not even delivered by them. They were on selling a bunch of stuff, and the margin wasn't all that great anyway. So all of that stuff was diluting their core offering, which was highly profitable. So it was clear to me, an external perspective can find these things so much easier. It was clear to me all this stuff should just be removed. It's just not helping your core message. And so they bought into that idea, and we've done that. I'm really absolutely confident because it's only just happened, but I'm confident they're going to improve their sales right off the back of that. Just saying less sometimes is better than trying to card the net too wide, I think.
Yeah, I'm going to tend to agree with you on that. I've met a lot of business owners and sales professionals that like they got nine different offers, right? It's like, oh, well, we
Yeah,
could do this and then we could do this or we could do this. And it's just like, no, 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 simplify it, right? I had a mentor that used to say, kiss, baby, keep it simple sells. And a
yeah,
lot of times, what you're saying about, well, they had all these offerings, but the margins weren't that good. A lot, like I had one guy in particular that I was chatting with, he was telling me he's in the medical space that they had one service they were offering that they thought was just absolutely killing it, like constantly had their calendars full, was just like in and out all day long. And then they went and ran the numbers and realized that for every person that walked through the door, they were actually losing $100. Even though, like,
yeah.
up
Wow.
front, it looked really good. But when they started looking at the numbers between the manpower and the like the overhead and everything, they were losing money on it. And so they cut
Yeah,
that out, started focusing in on, one of their other offerings. Profits went sky high, margins through the like they were doing so much better. But it's as you said, like sometimes you think having more is going to make you more attractive, but at the end of the day, people are showing up because they have one main problem that they want to solve. And if you're the person who's like got the most authority and the best ratings and rankings on how to solve it, then more than likely
yeah.
they're going to want to work with you. And so like in the small business space, and again, I talk a lot about entrepreneurs and small business owners, sales professionals, you fit right in here with this, right? How can we kind of cut some of the marketing jargon? How do we kind of help the folks that are listening not make the mistake of falling into the average, as you said, like everybody else is doing?
Yeah, so the conversations to help clients through that process is to often to just discuss what they dislike in the industry, what's everyone else doing poorly or badly. I find people come up with answers to those kind of negative spin on those sorts of questions far more easily. They're really frustrated because everyone does it this way, but they do it that way. That's gold because we can flip that to the positive angle of what, how they do it in a different way. But I used to have the conversation with them, what sets you apart, what makes you different, blah blah blah, and it used to be pretty generic. But once they're talking from the frustration about their industry or what the clientele say about, the bad negative things about their industry, that there's real gold in there. So we can dial into those unique points because everyone else is selling the 90%, but the 10% that makes you uniquely you, that's the bit you got to focus on because everyone, like, if you're selling, I don't know, building houses, everyone knows you got to live in a house, but why is this house better? Um, that's really where it comes down to. So getting that core message really clear, but also the voice, like you mentioned, punching out lots of content previously. If you can set your style guide, your voice, the style in which you write and communicate, which goes across everything. So it's got to be congruent with how your sales guys talk. In my instance, I'm the only sales guy, so it's easy for me. So the marketing message is built around how I communicate a sales conversation because if it's not, there's inconsistency. So all the writing within the website, all the content, the blogs, everything, I've got a voicing document. I use AI to get a first dirty draft done, and then I work over it and make sure it's spot on, and adjustment, and including anything that's uniquely mine. So case studies, examples, and naturally you're talking about location as well. If you're talking about case studies, which is really important to help show up in Google and the like as well.
Yeah, I think that leads a lot into like the trust and credibility aspect, right? I think
Yeah.
the if someone, and we kind of mentioned this earlier, but like if someone lands on your website and they see a specific piece about, let's just use home builders for example, right? Like we are the top rated home builder in the entire county, and then they go on Google and they're like, who's the top rated home builder in the county, and it tells them like four other companies. They're like, all right, well, hold on, how come they're claiming to be the top rated builder? Or like what I've seen, especially the home builder side of things, this is one of those things. I was on Instagram scrolling the other day, and I came across one page where it's like he's a home inspector, and he goes out to
Yep.
all these new buildings, and he literally will walk through and he's like, this is an $800,000 house, and he's got like this little hand and he's just pointing at like all the cracks in the foundation and like random screws in places, and this is like totally calling these guys out for the shoddy work that they're doing. Like people
Yeah.
can research that, right? People can go online and they can find that, like if they type in your name to Google and they start searching, they're
Yeah.
going to find all the good, the bad, the ugly, and everything in between. So, what are some of the
Yeah.
things that our listeners should be doing to make sure that they're continuing to have that trust, that credibility? You mentioned the case studies and testimonials. Like, what are some of the things that we should be adding to our website to really lean in on?
Yeah. So that everything you can control within your website is a space you control, which is, so I always think it should be a core aspect of what you do online. All the social media is noisy spaces, but it's fantastic. You've got to play in both spaces to bring people to your website, and that's your territory where you can really control the message and without distraction. But the things, so they're the things you can do inside your control. The things that are outside your control are super important too. So Google reviews, it's kind of outside your control because it's up to the clients and people generally to do that. But you can certainly prompt people. So making it part of your process just to ask for that review. Once a client's super happy, just say, hey, do you mind leaving a quick Google review or a Facebook review, and anything like that. Third party endorsements, obviously really key. Things that the people can recognize, this can't be fabricated, it can't be fake because it's published elsewhere. So any reviews and those sorts of things, video testimonials obviously as well are really good if you can get that. It's hard to sometimes get people behind a camera, but if they're willing and able to find a way to get that, written testimonials are good too, but people realize they can be doctored and they're curated at least to a large degree. So, I mean, people realize that sort of stuff. And as you say, they'll do a general Google review. I actually got a client on board who had said for many, many years, we don't need a website because no one buys our stuff through a website, and we've got a certain niche offering. And that was cool until they were going to get sued by somebody. So anyone who, and I believe they told me that it was not fair and it was blah, blah, blah. They had a good story around it. But that didn't stop there. When people were Googling their name, the only thing you could see about them was they're getting sued by somebody. So all of a sudden they needed a website and they needed to bury that message and have their own message. And it turned out people were Googling them mainly for the address because it was about distribution and shipping and so on. So people needed trucking people needed to find the address and find where to go. So people were Googling them. They just didn't realize it until some of these trucking guys said, "Hey, what's going on? You guys getting sued." So that's an interesting story in itself. Yeah.
And I love the idea of Google reviews, and I can say without question that I am 100% a person that I'll pull up a couple. Like if I'm looking for something, I'm gonna pull it up. I'm gonna look at the reviews, whether it's on Amazon or Google or wherever I'm doing my research. 9 out of 10 times, I'm going out of the one that has the most reviews, and then the one that has like the most consistent. So like I hear a lot of guys that are like, "Oh, I got a 3-star review, I got a 4-star review," and it's like, yeah, but that's real. I don't know how
Yeah.
many times I've been on and it's like 5-star review, 5-star, like hundreds of 5-star reviews, and I'm like, what are you guys, just perfect? Like no one's ever had an issue here. And I think there are people that will try to bury those little, the 3 and 4 stars. But I'm also the kind of guy that I'll go and I'll pull up all the 1 and 2 star reviews and I'll see what
Yep.
people are saying, because there's a lot of times
Yeah.
people are just, they're jerks. And they're mad because it's like you didn't over deliver on something, and it's like, well, he promised this, and it's like, well, no, we don't promise that. Like, it's in our contract, whatever. I'll actually look to see the people that are replying to the reviews, how they're handling them, the way that they're like, either they're owning up to it and being like, yes, we totally made a mistake, we'll be happy to fix it for you, like 100%, let's have a conversation, or they're willing to just call people out and be like, no, this is how it went, here's the proof of it. Like, I had a guy like that one time that he placed an order with me, and then he got mad because our website wouldn't let him use two discount codes at one time. And so I
Yeah.
emailed him and I'm like, hey man, I understand your frustration. However, you were trying to use two codes at one time. That doesn't work. And the code that you used actually saved you more money than trying to use the two that you were trying to put together. And he got all sassy
Right.
with me. And so I just canceled his order.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, it turns out I don't want your business. And he went on and left me
Yeah.
this big 1-star review and threw a fit. And then I replied very friendly, but hey, this is my right as a business owner. This is what was going on. I tried to work with you. You didn't like my response, so I just chose not to do business with you. And I actually have had people that have called me and been like, hey man, I saw the 1-star review and the way that you handled it, and I appreciate that, because not all business is good business. And so I want to work with somebody that understands that and tell me more about what you have going on. So I love the idea of
Yeah.
Google reviews and really leaning in on them.
Yeah, 100%. That's exactly how a lot of people will perceive. If you get one bad review and you got 100 good ones, well, people are smart enough to realize, hey, that one guy was just out of line. I often get people email and say, hey, we got a negative review. Can you help us remove it? And I say, well, not really. It's really difficult. I mean, you can use a legal, you can, if it's genuinely false, you could go down the legal path. But man, as you say, you just respond in a positive, helpful way, acknowledge that what they've said, but also make it, clear that you weren't in the wrong. You do it very, very politely, because you don't ever want to retaliate with a nasty message, because that's when a negative review really hurts you. The way in which you respond is key. So I think you're doing it perfectly well. But it is funny sometimes when a client, it's happened a few times, a client will ring or email and say, hey, help us remove this review. And I say, don't worry about it. You got 100 really great reviews. And this one isn't going to hurt you. In fact, I went to a seminar. It was a psychologist turned marketer, and he was saying to have a less than 5-star review actually performs better than a 5-star review, simply because it's more believable and there's more trust around that. So that's really interesting. I've got all 5-star Google reviews for me, so I haven't got a negative. Maybe I have to get a negative one somewhere.
It's
I'm
like,
not
hey
going to
man, just make
encourage
it a
it.
4-star. Not that I'm gonna be mad, but like, help me help you, and we'll all win together.
Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, I'll just wait for that to naturally happen at some stage. But yeah, it is interesting that psychologist had all the data. I haven't got it with me, but it really compelling. Even he talked about mistakes in business, and how if something genuinely does go wrong, and the way in which you address it can be a positive thing, because it all of a sudden humanizes your brand. If you tackle these things in the right way. It's helpful to know that the long game really is the key.
Yeah, I have a client that's in the like the auto detailing. They do ceramic coatings, things like that, and
Yeah.
they had done a big job for a client. The product that they used failed. They called the manufacturer and were like, "Hey, this is what happened." And the manufacturer was like, "Oh no, 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 we're not covering that." And so he had to eat like a $6,500 replacement for this client, and he did
Yeah.
that. And he explained the whole situation to the client, and they went on, they left him a glowing review, talked about how there was like this mistake and that he fixed it, and he's gotten
Yeah.
business from it. And like, it's so interesting, the psychology behind, like you said, how you handle and deal with those situations where you could realistically be in the wrong or not. Like, again, it was a manufacturer defect, not him, but he still
Yeah.
took ownership of it,
He
and that's
wore
going
it.
to lead to
Yeah.
significantly more business than if he'd have just been like, "Oh, well, sorry about your luck." And man,
Yeah.
Wes, I'm sure we could probably nerd out about this all day because I love these conversations, but I want to be respectful of your time. I know it's early over there. What's the best way for our, myself and our listeners to come find you, follow you, check out more of your content? Because I'm sure it's filled with gems, just like today's call.
Yeah, thanks. So the easiest thing is to visit our website, uplift360.com.au here in Australia. And from there, you'll find my social media as well. So my personal LinkedIn is on there. So, and I connect with anyone who reaches, wants to connect on LinkedIn. So that's often the best way to get me as well. So yeah, Uplift 360.
I love it. I'll make sure all of that's down in the show notes for those of you that are checking us out online. Be sure to follow Wes. I know I'm excited to go check out more of his content. We've had an awesome conversation today. And listen, if you enjoyed the show, if you got some value out of it, share it on social media. Tag the two of us. Let the world know that you invested a little bit of your time here. You got something from it. Maybe send this to someone you know who has a really crappy website that needs to learn some of these lessons, or one of those people that's like constantly just copy pasting their awful AI, content. Like, don't tell them they suck, but just be like, hey, I heard this and I thought of you, and send it their way. Help them, help you. Let's all help the world get better, because that's what this call in this show is all about. Is helping sales professionals, entrepreneurs, small business owners really learn and understand the little things in life that can help take them to the next level. And here's the other deal: if you've got a great sales story, maybe it's even one where someone invested a little bit of money with you and then made a shitload of money because of it. Let's talk about it. Come on the show. Let's have you on here as a guest. Head over to callthedamnleads.com/podcast. Send us your details. We'll book you in, and we'll have another great conversation, just like we did today with my man, Wes. Thank you again, brother. This has been great.
Yeah, I've enjoyed it. Thanks so much.
You guys know what to do now. Go pick up the phone, call the damn leads. We'll see you next time.